Expressing opinions and preferences is an integral part of effective communication in English. It allows individuals to convey their thoughts, feelings, and choices in a clear and assertive manner. Here's an explanation with examples on how to express opinions and preferences. Expressing opinions. Using opinion phrases. 1. Example. In my opinion, the movie was a masterpiece, showcasing brilliant storytelling and exceptional performances. Agreeing. 1. Example. I completely agree with your perspective on the importance of sustainable practices in business. Disagreeing. 1. Example. While I respect your viewpoint, I must respectfully disagree. I believe technology has had a positive impact on education. Expressing certainty. 1. Example. I am absolutely convinced that implementing these changes will lead to significant improvements in our workflow. Expressing doubt. 1. Example. I'm not entirely sure that the new policy will address the underlying issues we are facing. Hedging. 1. Example. It seems to me that the proposal could be worth considering, though I'm not entirely certain about its feasibility. Expressing preferences. Stating preferences clearly. 1. Example. I prefer working in a quiet environment where I can focus without distractions. Comparing preferences. 1. Example. I'd rather go for a hike than spend the day at the beach. I enjoy the tranquility of nature. Expressing likes. 1. Example. I really enjoy reading historical fiction. The way it transports me to different eras fascinates me. Expressing dislikes. 1. Example. I'm not a fan of horror movies. They tend to make me feel uneasy and anxious. Using polite language. 1. Example. If it's not too much trouble, I would prefer to schedule the meeting in the morning when I'm most alert. Indicating flexibility. 1. Example. While I generally prefer tea, I'm flexible and can have coffee if that's what everyone else prefers. Seeking others' opinions. Asking for opinions. 1. Example. What do you think about the proposed changes to our project timeline? Encouraging others to share preferences. 1. Example. I'm open to suggestions for our team outing. Does anyone have a preference for a particular activity? Acknowledging others' opinions. 1. Example. I appreciate your input on the matter. It's essential to consider different perspectives. Expressing agreement with others' preferences. 1. Example. I'm on board with your suggestion to use a collaborative online platform for our group projects. By using these expressions and examples, you can effectively convey your opinions and preferences, fostering clear and constructive communication in various contexts. Remember that expressing yourself respectfully and acknowledging diverse viewpoints contributes to meaningful conversations. Let's dive into specific examples to illustrate how to express opinions and preferences in English. Expressing opinions. Using opinion phrases. 1. Example. In my opinion, the decision to expand our product line was a wise move, given the growing market demand. Agreeing. 1. Example. I completely agree with your proposal to implement flexible work hours. It can significantly improve employee satisfaction. Disagreeing. 1. Example. While I respect your viewpoint, I must respectfully disagree. I believe a more conservative approach would be prudent in this case. Expressing certainty. 1. Example. After thorough research, I am absolutely convinced that adopting renewable energy sources is the key to reducing our carbon footprint. Expressing doubt. 1. Example. Given the current economic climate, I'm not entirely sure that increasing our marketing budget is a wise decision. Hedging. 1. Example. It seems to me that the new software could be beneficial, though I'm not entirely certain about its compatibility with our existing systems. Expressing preferences. Stating preferences clearly. 1. Example. I prefer working in a collaborative environment where ideas can be freely exchanged. Comparing preferences. 1. Example. I'd rather spend my weekends hiking in the mountains than lounging by the pool. I love the sense of adventure. Expressing likes. 1. Example. I really enjoy attending live music concerts. The energy of the crowd and the live performance create a unique experience. Expressing dislikes. 1. Example. I'm not a fan of spicy food. It doesn't agree with my taste buds. Using polite language. 1. Example. If it's not too much trouble, I would prefer to have the team meeting scheduled in the afternoon. Indicating flexibility. 1. Example. While I generally prefer to work independently, I am flexible and can collaborate with the team when needed. Seeking others' opinions. Asking for opinions. 1. Example. What do you think about the idea of implementing a mentorship program within our organization? Encouraging others to share preferences. 1. Example. I'm open to suggestions for our team building activity. 1. Does anyone have a preference for a particular location or activity? Acknowledging others' opinions. 1. Example. I appreciate your perspective on the project timeline. 1. It's important to consider various viewpoints before making a decision. Expressing agreement with others' preferences. 1. Example. I'm on board with your suggestion to use a task management tool. 1. It aligns with our goal of improving efficiency. These examples demonstrate a variety of ways to articulate opinions and preferences in different situations, whether in the workplace, social settings, or personal discussions.